Please note that the Burn It Nutrition podcast is for educational purposes only and is not meant to substitute for the advice of a doctor. Please consult your GP before using any of the techniques or products discussed on this show. Hope you like it.
Welcome to episode 15 of the Burn It Nutrition podcast. I am your host, Joseph Navarro. On today's show, we will clear up the confusion behind the term healthy fats. And to do this, we will be going into what the science says are the actual fats we can refer to as heart healthy. We will do this by breaking down the benefits of monounsaturated fats, saturated and polyunsaturated fats, as well as good sources of each. And to finish off this show full of mind-bending information, we will go into the actual bad fats that are causing the rise in serious health problems around the world. Plus, we will learn how to make a low-carb version of chicken pasta that won't get you off track towards your weight loss goals. But first, let's hear from this week's news and announcements. You know, there is a lot of confusion on how to effectively apply a ketogenic diet. There's just so much conflicting information. This is something I struggled with when I first started my transformation. Well, after diving into the science, I was able to drop 60 pounds of pure fat in 7 months. And in the process, I learned so much that I knew I had to tell the world. So I created 5th Stage Keto. I put everything I learned through my own journey to health into my audiobook, giving you what is needed to see the biggest changes in body composition and finally reach your goals. And 5th Stage Keto is an audiobook that also includes the ebook, so you can see the workouts included both for the gym and for home workouts, plus recipes to some of our favorite comfort foods like keto bacon pepperoni pizza and garlic chicken with lemon zucchini noodles. Insanely good. Just head over to burnitnutrition.com to get yours, and don't forget to use the coupon code BURNIT for a bonus $5 off. Again, that is burnitnutrition.com. Also, if you want to help support this show, then you can do this by becoming a Burn It Patreon member. This will allow us to keep this show on air, and you even get a copy of 5th Stage Keto when you sign up as a Burn It member. So head to patreon.com/burnit and help support the show you love. And of course, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook under Burn It Nutrition to check out some of my progress pictures. And subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, and even share it with your friend who wants to learn more about a healthy lifestyle in a fun way. Well, I'm so glad you're with us today. How about we get this show started? I hope you're ready because this one is a must listen.
Burn it. You are not alone as you begin this new stage of life. Learn the strategic methods to reach your goals and flourish the light within. With our guidance, you will uncover the hidden truths that have been missing from your understanding. It's time to let it burn.
The food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Words by Anne Wigmore. It's important to realize that the food you consume and swallow will not just go through you, but become part of you. Each of the billions of cells in your body will be affected by every mouthful of food you choose to eat. And you can either help yourself and give your body the best chance to make it, or you can force it to deal with the chemical barrage that comes within our modern food industry. You see, in today's world, the food that surrounds us is moving further and further away from the natural nourishments our bodies have thrived on. Our grocery stores are stocked with shelf after shelf of processed junk you can't really call food anymore. Packaged meals and snacks full of never-before-seen ingredients you would never find in nature. And worst of all, the creators of these food-like products have mastered the art of convincing the public that they are healthy, with labels that say natural and gluten-free on products that never actually had gluten to begin with. Or labels that say heart-healthy snacks on cereal boxes full of added sugars and refined carbs. And we have all seen the fat-free labels across the entire grocery store shelves. Fat-free yogurt, fat-free milk, fat-free this or that. Well, just so you know, these fat-free claims on a label usually mean that the fat is replaced with a whole mess of chemicals and sugars as a substitute. Which is unfortunate, since out of all the nutrients, dietary fat has gotten the worst reputation. It has been demonized and accused of being the cause of our obesity epidemic, and of course, it has been blamed for the rise of heart disease and other serious diseases that have been seen in the last few decades. And on today's episode, we will dive into the science and studies that is helping to clear up the confusion on fats, showing us the real functions and benefits. But there is a but, and that is that it's important to emphasize that not all fats are created equal. You see, there are healthy fats that our ancestors have been eating for thousands of years, real and natural fats that have allowed our species to continue to evolve and progress our cultures. And then there are bad fats that have been modified, processed, and refined in factories. Unnatural and even toxic fats that our bodies have not seen before. These fats, which we will cover, are the real cause of serious issues like systemic inflammation, which is one of the real causes of heart disease. My objective with this episode is to give you a better understanding between the differences in healthy fats that our bodies need to thrive versus the bad fats that are wreaking havoc in our health. And to do this, we will be going over the various types of fats like monounsaturated fats, saturated fats, and polyunsaturated fats. And of course, we will give good sources of each. And to end this show full of paradigm shifts, we will dive into the bad fats that you truly want to avoid at all costs. Fats that are the real problem, and you may be surprised to find out how some of these so-called heart-healthy fats are made. So, let's dive into this crucial topic and feed our brains the wisdom it desires. It's time to focus in and prepare your brain to learn and absorb the key factors to health and nutrition. And we will do this with a unique and interesting show, with the use of sound, stories, and history to make learning into a fun experience, which is what the Burn It Nutrition podcast is all about. In episode 4, we learned how dietary fats became enemy number 1. We went over how the flawed and incomplete research of a scientist named Ansel Keys drove our nation to point the finger at fat, especially saturated fat, as the main cause of heart attacks. But the latest research coming out has proven this to be inaccurate. Now I know that many of us still find it hard to accept that eating fat is healthy, but it is. Yes, even saturated fat. This is still a hard truth for some to come to accept. You see, deep down in the mind of those who have grown up hearing the news about the dangers of fat is hard to let go. For decades, they have heard the advice to get fat-free everything, which can build up habits that make them want to reach for those fat-free options. These shifts can be challenging, which is understandable. Deep in their mind, there is still that small and subtle voice saying, "It's bad to eat fat. Don't do it. It's unhealthy." But friends, it's crucial to understand that healthy fats are good for the body. Remember, this is a paradigm shift in perspective, bringing us back towards a way of eating that has been done for thousands of years by many different cultures. A lifestyle and a way of eating that brings us back to the origins of human evolution. A method of nutrition that doesn't bring on the health issues of modern civilization that we see today. But this primal method of nutrition was left behind the moment the National Dietary Health Regulations told everyone to avoid fat and instead eat a mostly high-carb diet. That is when the rise in serious health issues began to take off. But the new science is becoming clear that healthy, natural fats are safe and can have profound health benefits when you reduce the overconsumption of refined and starchy carbs, which is what the low-carb paleo and ketogenic diet is all about. Again, let's understand that our bodies need healthy fats to survive. But before we dive into the different healthy fats as well as the truly bad fats to avoid, let's first go over some of the studies that have shown that eating dietary fat, even saturated fat, is not the cause of heart disease. This way can further help ease any of that leftover doubt deep within the mind. A meta-analysis published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition took on the challenge of going over several studies to review the science of the links between dietary saturated fat consumption and the risk of coronary heart disease, stroke, and cardiovascular disease. These researchers reviewed 21 separate studies that involved over 300,000 subjects over several years, and their conclusion of what the science showed was surprising to many. They discovered that there is no significant evidence to point the finger at saturated fat as the risk for heart disease. Now, if we take a step back and look at the big picture, we will see that as of today, in the United States, there are about 600,000 deaths from heart disease every year. That comes out to about 1 in every 4 deaths are from issues like heart attacks. Now that is scary. So if the old theory that pointed the finger at saturated fat as the cause of the rise in deaths was true, then that would mean that the Americans are ignoring the low-fat recommendations and still eating a lot of fat, since supposedly fat causes heart disease. In other words, if we are still having these high amounts of heart attacks every year, then surely the population is still eating high amounts of saturated fat, right? Well, no. More like the exact opposite. You see, even though today we have millions dying from heart attacks, the actual amount of saturated fats and animal fats consumed in the diet of Americans has drastically declined, going from 83% to 62%. Even the use of real butter has drastically dropped, from 18 pounds per person per year to just 4 pounds per year. So if their theory that said that saturated fat was a leading cause of heart disease, then after hearing these stats and the decline of fat consumption, you would think that the population would be getting healthier. But we all know this isn't the case. Our health as a nation is only getting worse. You see, the real issue isn't healthy and natural saturated fats like butter and even animal fats from grass-fed meats. The actual problem leading to these serious diseases are in actuality refined vegetable oils and hydrogenated fats like margarines and vegetable shortenings. These man-made synthetic fats that easily oxidize and are full of chemicals are the real issue. You see, in the last 50 or so years, Americans have stopped using real butter and instead have increased the percentage of these processed and so-called heart-healthy vegetable oils by a whopping 400%. This is a big problem, which we will go further into why in the end of the show. Now, another study I want to go over was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. This was a 2-year study done from 2005 to 2007 in Dimona, Israel. This study randomly assigned 322 moderately obese individuals to one of 3 different diets: either a low-fat, higher-carb, calorie-restricted diet, a Mediterranean calorie-restricted diet, or a low-carb, non-calorie-restricted diet. The objective was to see which diet was the most effective and safe to apply. So let's go further into this study. Now, the low-fat diet group gave its subjects around 1,500 calories for women and 1,800 calories for men, with only 30% of those calories coming from fat. This low-fat group were advised to consume low-fat grains, veggies, fruits, legumes to reduce their intake of dietary fat. The Mediterranean subjects also had the same amount of allowed calories, with only 35% of those calories coming from dietary fat. Fat to come from olive oil and a bit of nuts. And lastly, the low-carb diet group had no restrictions on calories, only on carbs. They were only allowed 20 grams of carbs per day for the first 2 months, then gradually increased them to a max 120 grams per day in the maintenance phase. Protein and fat calories were not limited, but they were advised to choose healthy fat sources, and the results were very interesting. So which diet did best? Which proved to be the best option for health and weight loss? Well, let's find out. Out of these 3 diets, the one that had the best results was, drum roll please, the low-carb diet. Yes, even though they ate the most saturated fat, protein, and cholesterol, still, they had the best results when it came to health and weight loss. You see, the reduction in carbs lowered their insulin levels, which is a key hormone to control. This allowed for an increase in the superfuel, ketones, which has profound health benefits, some of which we covered in episode 7. Digging further into the results, the low-carb diet group also had the biggest increase in the good HDL cholesterol. The low-carb group also had the biggest drop in triglycerides. And what was also surprising was that the LDL, or bad cholesterol, didn't show any significant changes in any of the groups. But I am sure that if they ran an advanced lipid panel like an NMR lipoprofile test, it would have probably shown a shift into the less atherogenic LDL pattern type A in these low carbers, but they didn't test this. Furthermore, they did test the levels of high sensitivity C-reactive protein, also called hsCRP, which measures the levels of inflammation, and that decreased significantly, but only in the low-carb and Mediterranean groups, not the low-fat group. So even though all the diet groups lost weight within the first 6 months, the health benefits seen after the 2 years on the low-carb diet and even the Mediterranean group showed why they are the better options. And what is also mind-bending to some is that the low-carb diet groups lost the most overall weight, even though they didn't have any restrictions on calories, further showing the power of a low-carb keto lifestyle. So the science is showing that a low-carb diet that uses real healthy fats as its foundation is a great option when looking to burn fat and improve your overall health. And finally, after 35 years of the National U.S. Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee restricting fats, they have finally began to see the science for themselves. And in 2015, they actually gave the guidelines another look and revised our national dietary guidelines, finally removing any upper limit of the use of real healthy fats. They even went as far as to say that a low-fat diet are not ideal for obesity prevention. About time, right? This is actually a pretty big deal. Remember, these guidelines influence the meals used to feed millions around the country, since they influence the food used in our public school lunches, and bringing us one step closer to letting go of the idea that fat is the enemy, and one step closer to bringing our country back to health. So let's now learn the ways to get more healthy fats into our day. Let's discuss the best sources of healthy fats to go for, and discover which are the real bad fats to avoid. So why are healthy fats so healthy? Well, let's find out. Natural fats are, in my opinion, the foundation of life. It is the most precious nutrient you can find in nature, truly sustaining life. In nature, we see how carnivorous animals go straight for the fatty parts of their kill. The fatty tissues are the most vital and are the first to be devoured. Years of evolution have taught these animals what tissues are crucial to receive nutrients and survive. You see, these carnivorous animals and even human hunter-gatherers would have to put great effort to bring down their prey, and going for the natural fats of the animals made sure their efforts were worth it. And if we go deeper into the chemistry and take a look through the microscope, we will see that healthy natural fats play a big role in our body's many systems. And that is because the body is full of vital tissues that are lipid-based. meaning they use fat as their building blocks. Key systems like our nervous system use fat to code its neurons. Neurons used to transmit electrical signals from the brain to the rest of the body. This protective layer is called the myelin sheath, which is made up of about 80% fat. And each of the billions of cells in your body use phospholipids to maintain the cell membrane, also using fat for their foundation. Not to mention our brain and bone marrow are also made out of saturated fat. Yup, the so-called enemy number one of our health is what our brain, the most vital organ in your body, is made out of. Now, what I want to make sure I am clear about is that the type of fats that you put on your plate will actually be directly used in these vital tissues of your body. And the use of real and natural fats versus synthetic and chemically filled refined fats will play a big role in how your body functions and ultimately the progress of your overall health. And another fun fact about fats, hey, that rhymes, is that fats help slow down the process of absorption when consumed with other macros, helping you feel full for longer. Fat is also a key transporter of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K, meaning you need fat to be able to properly absorb the nutrients of these vitamins. That is one of the reasons you need to take certain supplements with a meal. But again, it is absolutely crucial to remember that not all fats are created equal. So let's dive into the different types of fats to choose from. We are going to cover monounsaturated fats, saturated fats, and polyunsaturated fats, as well as the bad fats to avoid at all cost. So let's begin. The first we are going to cover is monounsaturated fats like avocados. These are one of the true superfoods. These type of healthy fats have profound health benefits, one of which is that they help increase your bone strength. They do this by allowing the bones in your body to take in calcium more efficiently, raising their density and helping avoid issues like osteoporosis. A study was done in Sweden that showed that women who consumed more monounsaturated fats and less polyunsaturated fats had reduced prevalence of breast cancer. Monounsaturated fats like avocados also provide a good source of folate, a vitamin which can help lower the chances of birth defects. Plus, these healthy fats also help lower the bad cholesterol and help fight heart disease as well as lower insulin resistance and helping improve overall mood. Now, some great sources of healthy monounsaturated fats are macadamia nuts, almonds, cashews, pecans, and nut butters. Plus, we can't forget about olive oil and avocados, two of the best forms of monounsaturated fats. Another fun fact is that avocados are actually a fruit, but they have very little carbs, instead packed with fiber, healthy fats, and potassium. They are a much better source of potassium than bananas, holding a whopping 40% more potassium. Olive oil is another key source of monounsaturated fats that can help increase memory and cognitive ability. Plus, it helps reduce inflammation. Now, you want to get quality extra virgin olive oil to receive higher levels of antioxidants, which protects the cells in your body from deterioration. It is also crucial to find cold-pressed and organic olive oil, since olive oil tends to become oxidized when in high temperatures, which occurs if the oil isn't cold-pressed. This is also why you don't want to cook with olive oil, since it has a low smoke point. Instead, use it as dressings for your salads. Finding cold-pressed options is great for even other oils, since most oils are made by applying pressure, which causes heat and damages the oil. Cold pressing helps prevent this by using a cooling system that prevents the temperature from rising. Pretty cool, right? And lastly, you also want to make sure that the oil comes in a dark bottle to help protect it from the oxidation caused by light rays, and also store it away from any heat and keep it sealed, since oxygen also will increase the oxidation. Let's now move on and dive into the most misunderstood type of fat, a fat that has been made out to be the black sheep of the family, and that is saturated fat. Saturated fat, when it comes in its natural forms like in healthy and grass-fed animals, as well as coconut butters and oils, are crucial for good health. That's right, these fats are not to be feared just because they have cholesterol. You see, for decades, the main reason many avoided highly nutritious foods like whole eggs, tossing the yolks, and only eating egg whites was because of the cholesterol they contained, since they feared that that would lead to heart attacks. But again, the science is showing this just isn't the case. Our bodies need cholesterol, and this is one of the hardest mental hurdles for people to get over. For years, we have been told that it is bad, but this shift in perspective is key to your health. Cholesterol is so vital to our health that the body makes sure to produce it on its own, with the help of the liver, if one stops eating it, since it is required for key functions in the body, like the cell membranes. Cholesterol is also a main component in the production of vital hormones like testosterone and estrogen. Without cholesterol, we simply wouldn't survive. Humans have evolved eating cholesterol since the time of our ancestors. They ate real, natural, healthy saturated fats like eggs, fatty cuts of meats, cheese, and butter. All of these foods high in cholesterol. And they did this without seeing the high amounts of heart disease that we see today. Just to give you an idea on how rare heart attacks were, we can look at history. Back in the 1920s, a young cardiologist named Paul Dudley White brought over the early version of the EKG, or electrocardiograph, from Germany and presented it to his colleagues at Harvard University. They were not impressed and puzzled by it. They advised him to leave this useless machine and instead focus on more important matters. Why? Well, back in the 1920s, heart attacks were quite rare. It was hard finding uses for this machine since people just didn't have issues of heart disease. Well, as the shift towards processed vegetable oils and hydrogenated fats like margarine became the new normal, heart attacks also became the new normal, and drastically became to rise. And now, in our current era, the EKG machine is found in every hospital all over the country. Before this shift in the use of fats, real and natural forms of saturated fats were used, and for good reason. There are a wide variety of health benefits that can be seen when using saturated fats, as long as refined carbs are reduced. Let me say that again just to be clear. An increase in dietary fat will show health benefits, but with the caveat that the excess consumption of carbs is reduced. I just want to make sure you get that. Unfortunately, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Unless you're smart and make a low-carb keto cake, then you can. Let's now go into some of the health benefits of saturated fat. And well, believe it or not, saturated fats are actually the preferred fuel source of your heart. The body even surrounds the heart with saturated fat, which is used as a backup when energy is needed. Saturated fats also help the liver, protecting it from some of the damage that can occur from alcohol and medications. Plus, they help improve the immune system as well as raising the good HDL cholesterol. So, now that we understand that saturated fat isn't the trigger to heart disease, we can go into finding ways to include it in our diet. And one of the best ways to get this key healthy fat into our day is by eating whole eggs. That's right, you can actually eat the yolk, which is the carrier of all the key nutrients. Eggs are one of the best foods you can eat since they have a good amounts of choline, which is very beneficial to our brain health. And they give us good protein as well, which helps keep us feeling full and can help increase lean muscle. This is why eggs are one of the best foods when on a diet. They provide everything the body needs without the carbs. Plus, they taste great and are easy to make. It has been seen that those who had a breakfast of eggs instead of a grain-filled breakfast ended the day eating less calories and losing more weight. This is probably because eggs fill you up without the insulin spikes. But remember, not all eggs are good for you. Just like in all animal-based products, the food used to feed the animal, or in this case the chicken, will determine the quality of the eggs. If the chicken was kept in cages under stressful conditions and fed grains, will result in eggs lacking key nutrients. It's best to get eggs that are omega-3 enriched or pastured. This helps increase the nutrients of the egg, plus it helps increase the quality of life of the chickens. That is why it's important to vote with your dollar and support these companies who see the value of good and sustainable farming practices. This brings us to our next source of healthy saturated fats, and that is organic grass-fed real butter. Butter should really be under the category of a superfood, since it has a wide variety of health benefits. Going back centuries, the ancient Romans used butter as a beauty cream and as a way to help treat burns. Real grass-fed butter, just like our ancestors ate, is full of key vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K. Butter is also a great source of vitamin B12, a key vitamin only found in foods coming from animals. Butter is also great for raising the good HDL cholesterol. Plus, we all know everything is better with butter. Hey, that also rhymes. But one thing you should make sure of is that you are getting real butter, not the imitation junk or the vegetable oil spreads. No, you want real organic and grass-fed butter, like the brand Kerrygold. That is the good stuff. And from butter, we also get ghee, also called clarified butter. This is butter that has the milk proteins removed, which is good for those who have lactose sensitivities. Both of these are great for cooking since they have higher smoke points and bring amazing flavors to your food. Let's move on to another great source of healthy saturated fats, and this one has been a staple food for centuries, and that is coconuts, coconut oil, and coconut butter. Tropical cultures have been using this superfood for centuries, and for good reason. Coconuts are another tool to fight inflammation since they contain a good amount of antioxidants. Coconuts and coconut oil are the richest source of saturated fat that you can find, containing about 90% saturated fat, and a great source of medium-chain triglycerides, which are rapidly and easily used by the body for energy. The healthy fat in coconut oil can be converted into the superfuel ketones by the liver, further bringing your body into an upgraded state. You can also use coconut oil or coconut butter to cook, since it also has a high smoke point. Just make sure to find unrefined and cold-pressed. And from coconuts come my favorite form of healthy fats, which is MCT oil. This is the coconut oil that has been taken one step further, giving you more of these medium-chain triglycerides. One of the perks of MCT fats is that since they are shorter-chain fats, they are readily used for energy, which also reduces the chances of them being stored as fat. Plus, I absolutely love them in my coffee, smoothies, and even drizzled on my food. And another great source of healthy saturated fat is full-fat yogurt. This will add gut-improving probiotic bacteria that can have useful digestive health benefits. But it's important to double-check that it is full-fat yogurt, which is not easy to find. You see, many yogurt companies have removed the fat to go along with the low-fat recommendations. Well, this has caused these companies to replace the fat with a whole lot of sugar, which is no bueno. A good brand you can try is called Carb Master by Kroger. They have a variety of flavors with only 5 grams of carbs per container. And another healthy saturated fat you can use is cheese. That's right, cheese is back on the menu. Believe it or not, cheese is packed with nutrients like calcium, vitamin B12, selenium, phosphorus, plus it has good protein. Now, not everyone can handle the dairy in cheese, plus it may be a good idea to reduce it if your weight loss stalls. We will have to do an entire show on dairy since it is such a large topic, but as far as healthy and nutritious fats are concerned, cheese is definitely one of them. Let's move on to another fat that can help alleviate some of these candy cravings, and that is dark chocolate. Another great source of healthy saturated fats. Dark chocolate has a good amounts of fiber, iron, magnesium, copper, and manganese. Plus, it will include even more antioxidants into your diet. And last, but definitely not least, we have the great sources of healthy fats found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, plus the fat in red palm kernel oil, beef tallow, even lard and bacon. Those are all great options to include in your diet. Try to mix it up and add variety. Now, it's important to remember that in nature, we rarely just get one type of fat. Most natural foods come mixed with both saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated fats. The classification given usually comes down to the majority of the fat a particular food contains. For example, butter is about 70% saturated fat, but it also contains 25% monounsaturated fat, and very small amounts of polyunsaturated fats. And chicken fat is another example, which has around 30% saturated, 50% monounsaturated, and about 20% polyunsaturated. Beef tallow is another. This one has 55% saturated, 40% monounsaturated, and also very small amounts of polyunsaturated fats. Beef tallow is actually a great source of antimicrobial palmitic acid, which is why the company Fatco uses tallow as its main ingredients in their line of skincare products. So check out their site at fatco.com and use coupon code BURNIT for 10% off their face creams full of healthy fats. So, it's good to remember that you will be getting more than one fat when consuming foods in their natural form. Well, let's now discuss the dark side of fats. Let's address the fats that are showing to be the real problem. We will need to cover these so you know which to avoid. Okay? So let's dive into polyunsaturated fats, trans fats, and other highly processed unnatural fats that are showing to be one of the real causes to our growing health problems. One of these problematic fats we're going to start with is polyunsaturated fats. And while they are not necessarily toxic in their natural form, they can still cause serious health issues when consumed in high amounts, which happens to be the case for many, and a big problem in our modern cultures. You see, back before our nation started to see a rise in heart attacks, the main fats we ate were saturated and monounsaturated fats, like the ones we've already covered. Back in those days, we ate very little of this polyunsaturated fats, but now, these are the main fats consumed all over the country. Ever since saturated fat was made enemy number one and was removed from the list of good fats, caused a shift in the oils used, spiking the use of polyunsaturated oils in the form of the so-called heart-healthy vegetable oils like soybean, safflower, cottonseed, and canola oils. Which I don't see why they are called vegetable oils, since they don't even come from veggies, but actually come from seeds that are taken through a chemically filled process of heating and even bleaching. If you haven't seen the process used to make these oils, then do yourself a favor and check out YouTube. Just type in "how is canola oil made?" It's a process that is anything but healthy. It's actually pretty gross. A much different process than how grass-fed butter is made. Real and natural butter is a simple process of raw milk directly from happy cows that is churned with no other chemicals needed. Well, this issue of overconsumption of refined polyunsaturated oils is a big health factor because it leads to an imbalance of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. Let me explain. The body needs both omega-6 and omega-3 fats. They each serve their purpose. Omega-3s have an anti-inflammatory compounds that help reduce inflammation, which is crucial. But we also need omega-6 fats that have an inflammatory compounds. Why would we need both inflammatory and anti-inflammatory? Well, we need the inflammatory omega-6 compounds for healing to occur. That is why your toe swells when you jam it in the weight room. That is acute inflammation that the body uses to heal. We need these inflammatory compounds. But the problem arises when this short-term acute inflammation becomes long-term systemic inflammation, which is what occurs when eating foods cooked with vegetable oils on a daily basis. And the reason this is such a widespread problem is that these vegetable oils are in every fryer and kitchen in fast foods and most restaurants all over the country. This rise of long-term systemic inflammation is showing to be the true danger that is increasing the risks of serious health issues like heart attacks. You see, the big issue with cooking with these oils is that they can't withstand heat and become oxidized very easily. But even before one uses them to cook, they can already be oxidized, since the process used to extract the oil from the seeds can already leave them oxidized. And this overconsumption of vegetable oils is the X factor raising the amount of cases of cancer, immune system degradation, liver problems, growth and reproductive issues, and impaired cognitive abilities. It really is important to have a balance in your ratio of omega-6 to 3 ratio. You shouldn't have more than the other. And the sad reality is that many of the food in our country is full of omega-6 oils that are usually highly refined and oxidized by the time they come into the body. This leads to omega-6 to 3 ratios that can be as bad as 20 to 1 instead of what they should be, which is 2 to 1, or even better, 1 to 1. This is why I really don't try to go out of my way to get more polyunsaturated fats into my diet, since I have already a hard enough time avoiding them. Instead, I make sure to take a quality fish oil supplement if I go out to eat, and try to balance out the ratio to get more omega-3s. But some natural forms of polyunsaturated fats are chia seeds, flax seeds, anchovies, as well as wild-caught salmon, herring, and tuna. Let's now go into the fats that have been shown are the real bad fats. These are the fats that you should avoid at all costs. Fats that are synthetically made, like trans fats, hydrogenated fats, and partially hydrogenated fats. These are also called margarines and vegetable shortenings, which are the truly bad fats to avoid. Fats that are made with the sole purpose of increasing a packaged product's shelf life with no regard to your health. Let me briefly explain the process involved to make these toxic hydrogenated fats. To make these truly bad fats, they use a method that takes already highly inflammatory omega-6 polyunsaturated fats in their liquid form and converts them into a solid fat to increase their shelf life. This process allows cookies and crackers to stay on shelves for years without going bad, which is great for the makers but terrible for your health. The hydrogenation process is done by taking the lowest quality seeds, like soybean, cottonseed, or rapeseed, and mixing them with small metal particles like nickel oxide, and put into a high-pressure, high-heat hydrogen gas chamber. Then emulsifiers and starch are added. And bleach is also added, used to remove its gray color. Plus, dyes and other flavors are also added to make it look like real butter. Then, it is labeled as heart healthy and sold all over the world. But this is far from healthy. Remember how we said earlier that the fat you eat is used by the body to make up the cell membranes of each cell in your body? Well, these toxic trans fats are also taken up into the body, but instead of having real natural fats that we have evolved consuming, instead we get this factory-made unnatural synthetic fats in each of our cells, leading to an array of issues since the chemical reactions needed to be done by the body are impaired due to these trans fats. These fats can be found in a large number of packaged foods, and again, the biggest problem with all these bad fats and refined vegetable oils is that they are everywhere. You see, even if in your own home you use grass-fed butter or organic coconut oil to cook, even if you have never considered buying margarine or refined vegetable oils from the grocery store, the sad reality is that you still are probably consuming these toxic oils. Why? Because again, they are used in so many different products. Restaurants and fast foods use them. Just look at the label of the snacks and packaged foods at the grocery store. They are there. And the only way this will change is if more people start seeing the link between the consumption of these oils and the rise in our serious health issues like cancer. Only if we start requesting these companies that make our food to change these toxic fats for healthier and natural options, this issue will only continue to get worse. unless we request for healthier options, they won't have a reason to change. We have now reached the segment of the show where we stop talking about the studies and instead find ways to get these delicious healthy fats on our dinner plates. So what's on the menu? Today, we have garlic buttered chicken with lemon zest zucchini noodles. This will allow you to beat those pasta cravings without breaking the diet. Zucchini noodles are a great substitute for pasta that give us a similar texture of normal pasta without the insulin spikes. And of course, I've posted the full recipe on the Burn It Nutrition website. So here's what you do to make this yummy dish. First, you will need a vegetable spiralizer, which you will use to turn the zucchini into its noodle form, also called zoodles. These can be found on the recommendations page of the Burn It Nutrition website. So first, lay out a large flat baking sheet and place a layer or two of paper towels on top. Then you will get 3 large zucchinis and put them through the spiralizer. Next, add the now zoodles on top of the paper towels. Then add dashes of salt on top and cover that with another layer of paper towels and softly pat down. This will help suck out the moisture of the zoodles, giving them the texture similar to pasta. Then let it sit while you cook the chicken. So, wash and pat dry your 2 chicken breasts, then add the seasonings of your choice, including 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. Then place on a large pan over medium-high heat and add 3 tablespoons of grass-fed butter. Next, gently lay in the chicken. Let it cook until it has turned into a golden brown. Then flip them over and do the same. Once the chicken is fully cooked, you can set it aside in a covered bowl. Then, using the same pan, you will lightly sauté the zoodles. You can add another 2 tablespoons of butter also. Once on the pan, squeeze a full lemon on top. Then add a bit more garlic and salt and pepper to taste. Then continue to move the zoodles for another 3 or so minutes. Once tender, serve onto 2 large plates and add your now cooked garlicked chicken breast. Then sprinkle some more lemon on top and voila, you'll have a yummy low-carb version of chicken pasta. This brings us to the end of episode 15 of the Burn It Nutrition podcast. My goal with this episode was to help clarify the term healthy fat, to give a better understanding on what the latest science is showing is the actual fats we need to refer to as heart healthy. I hope you now see the fats that you should be including in your diet, like avocados, grass-fed butter, organic coconut oil, and extra virgin olive oil, pastured eggs, and grass-fed meats. These fats are full of what your body needs to thrive. And when you reduce the overconsumption of refined sugars and carbs, as well as avoiding the bad fats, is when the body can really perform as it was designed to. Don't be fooled by the label on some of these supposedly heart-healthy vegetable oils, or those fake butters. Get the real and natural healthy fats our ancestors have lived on for thousands of years. Vote with your dollar and support the companies that see the value of good farming practices like pastured chickens and grass-fed cows. Let's make this the new normal and help change the degradation of our country's health. And remember that a good diet requires more than just healthy fats. You also need quality protein and a diversity of veggies. We shouldn't just be eating butter on its own. Instead, use butter as a way to increase the nutrient density of veggies. When you look down at your plate, the majority of the space should be coming from leafy green veggies and adding healthy fats on top. Continue to put health and fitness as a priority in your life and fight for the life that you want. With every new day that is given to you, work to make the best choices for your health. Even if you have to pay a bit more for higher quality products, in the end, your health will be worth it. I know I would rather spend money now and live a healthy and strong life than to save a few bucks and have to pay the medical bills later in life. So friends, if you want to give 5th Stage Keto a try and get the methods to reach your body transformation, then get your copy of 5th Stage Keto. Go to burnitnutrition.com and use coupon code BURNIT to get $5 off this powerful weight loss plan. My goal is to bring you a show full of information that you can use in your life to continue to upgrade yourself. And if you like this show, then please give us a review on iTunes. Which brings us to the review of the week. And this one is from Mike Dean, and he wrote, "Great info, perfect place to start for a keto rookie. I love the attention to detail, especially the well-placed sounds and effects. Entertaining and informative. Thanks, Joseph." Well, thank you, Mike, for taking the time to write that review. It really means a lot. I do put a lot of work and effort into this show. I don't just turn on the microphone and blabber away. I make sure to put the effort and research before to bring you a show you will love. So please, take the effort and write me a review. Simply search for the Burn It Nutrition podcast on iTunes and write a quick message on what you liked about it. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram under Burn It Nutrition to see some of my most recent before and after pictures. Lastly, don't forget to share this show with any of your friends or family that still think butter and even egg yolks are dangerous. Help them hear the real facts by sending them this episode. Also, if you want to hear more episodes, then help us keep the lights on by making a donation to the podcast. It takes a lot of time to create this show, and your donation will help keep us operating. Give your best donation at paypal.me/burnit. Again, that is paypal.me/burnit. Well, I hope you join us on the next episode. I always love it when you're here. Now brace yourself, because it's time to let it burn.